It's tough. It's tough, man. But somebody comes to you with a lot of money, it changes. It changes. The feelings start to change a little bit.
If you're a Miami Dolphins fan, then you've experienced a roller coaster of emotion over this past offseason. I mean, from the firing of your head coach to all the offseason decisions you ended up making, this team could be one of the best teams in the NFL this coming season, or they could be one of the most disappointing teams in this year's NFL. And it all comes down to one individual. What do I mean by that? Well, before we get to the content, we're giving away $500 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. We're announcing it on our channel community tab in 4 days from now. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? This past offseason has been the strangest offseason I've ever seen a team ever undergo, because if you asked me last year, I didn't look at the Miami Dolphins as a team that needed to undergo a full-scale rebuild. Maybe a slight little tweak here and there, but I felt like the pieces were in place. I mean, yes, the jury was out on their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, who was relatively unproven, although there was a very small sample size on him so far, as he's only played 23 games in his career, but in those 23 games, he had a 66% completion percentage, threw for 4,400 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Unfortunately for Tua, he had the misfortune of being drafted after Joe Burrow and right before Justin Herbert, which Joe Burrow's team has already made a Super Bowl since then, and Justin Herbert is definitely looking like a cornerstone for the Los Angeles Chargers for years to come. Now, fortunately for Tua, it seems like the Miami Dolphins are mimicking the Los Angeles Chargers model, where they realize that they have a quarterback on a rookie scale contract and are trying to make the most out of that situation by investing heavily in other areas of their team. If you remember, over the 2 years of Tua's tenure with the Miami Dolphins under the Brian Flores regime, for the most part, he was mired in trade rumors the moment the man got into the NFL. Following the 2020 season, all you would hear about the Miami Dolphins is how interested they were in Deshaun Watson. As a matter of fact, there was a point during the trade deadline this past year where the Miami Dolphins almost pulled the trigger on a trade for Deshaun Watson that would have given the Houston Texans 3 first-round picks. Ultimately, they decided not to take that route moving forward. It seems like Tua is going to be their guy moving forward. Now, the interesting part about this entire situation is I want to say the Miami Dolphins had a really good offseason, but at the same time, I'm a little skeptical. My skepticism comes from the history of this team. I mean, you're coming out of the Brian Flores era, an era that yielded no playoff appearances whatsoever, but also an era that featured a 2020 season where Flores was able to lead this team to 10 wins and 6 losses. Last year obviously was a step back, 9 wins and 8 losses, but at the same time, this was a head coach that didn't believe in tanking, that was really focused on cultivating a positive culture in Miami, and ultimately got fired because he didn't see eye to eye with ownership. Brian Flores currently filed a lawsuit in which he states that the Miami Dolphins owner actually wanted to pay him to tank for Joe Burrow, in addition to trying to supposedly set up a meeting on a yacht where a prominent free agent quarterback just happened to appear at said yacht, and all this other strange stuff that we just heard about the Miami Dolphins during a fairly positive era during this team's past decade. I mean, if you look at the 2010s for the Miami Dolphins, it has just been all negative. They've been a terrible team for the entirety of the 2010s before Flores came along. But deciding to fire him and then pivoting to Mike McDaniel was a very bold move at that. But in addition to this, it seems like the Miami Dolphins were very aggressive this offseason. And this isn't a criticism, this is actually praise for them. My favorite move of this offseason wasn't the trading for Tyreek Hill, but it was the signing of Terron Armstead. They were also able to poach Connor Williams from the Dallas Cowboys, so those are 2 really good offensive line pieces moving forward, including a player that literally will anchor Tua's blind side moving forward. On the defensive end, you were able to retain Xavier Howard on yet another restructured contract. You have Emmanuel Ogbah coming back. You drafted Jalen Phillips last year. You have Jerome Baker, who's always been a stud at the inside linebacker position. You paid Byron Jones a hefty sum of money a few years ago to join you from Dallas. And that's before we get to the fact that they decided to trade a tremendous amount of capital in order to acquire Tyreek Hill. But hey, it's okay because they already had a ton of capital to begin with. They could afford to trade for Tyreek Hill. And although Tyreek Hill primarily said that the main reason that he decided to come to Miami was the fact that he became the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, this team has a lot to be excited about. You're already starting to see shades of the Kyle Shanahan offense, as Mike McDaniel already went ahead and signed one of his former players, Raheem Mostert, in addition to boasting 3 other pretty damn good halfbacks. I'm just gonna give you some fantasy football advice, not that you should take fantasy football advice from me, but don't draft any running back that plays for the Miami Dolphins. In this offseason, they added Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, and Sony Michel to go along with Myles Gaskin, and a very underrated move as well, and it's not necessarily something that's going to show up on the stat sheet, is the fact that they got Tua Tagovailoa, a really good backup QB that could provide him guidance throughout his career, by signing Teddy Bridgewater. Now this brings us to the topic of the video. All of this is literally on Tua's shoulders. Now, throughout the offseason, we've seen so many adorable videos of Tua throwing footballs to Tyreek Hill. I mean, it started with this beautiful one-handed reception by Tyreek Hill during voluntary workouts, which I'm happy he went to voluntary workouts because it would be a horrible look if you just pay this man the most money out of any wide receiver in the NFL and he just doesn't show up to voluntary workouts. Then eventually the Miami Dolphins posted this video of Tua throwing a shorter route to Tyreek Hill, but that brought us to a huge question mark in regards to the fit between Tua and Tyreek Hill. You see, Tua has this reputation of not necessarily having a rocket of an arm, and you could also make the argument that he doesn't necessarily make the best reads all the time, which I don't think any young QB does. But for the most part, when you think of Tyreek Hill, you think of 40-yard bombs from Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. So how's that going to work with Tua Tagovailoa? Let me get you some statistics here so Miami Dolphins fans could feel a little bit more optimistic. During the 2021 season, 71% of Tyreek Hill's targets were caught between 0 and 20 yards, which means there weren't necessarily 40-yard bombs all the time. A majority of his utilization came within the first 20 yards of the field. 13.7% of those weren't beyond 20 yards, rather they were behind the line of scrimmage. 13.7% were primarily screen passes and bubble screens, with 15.4% of those throws coming beyond 20 yards. Now you might be thinking,
yo Mike, I don't think Tua Tagovailoa could even throw beyond 20 yards.
well, I don't know how consistently he could do it, but there are instances where we've seen Tua throw far beyond 20 and even 30 yards throughout his brief NFL career. I think the fit over here could work. I have faith and belief in Mike McDaniel's offense in making it work. It seems like he's going to run a hybrid of Kyle Shanahan's offense, maybe mix in some of his own stuff. Who knows? Maybe we'll even see Tyreek Hill in the wide back role, which would be bizarre, but this is just my own prediction. But if there's an individual that provides a stellar analysis to what Tua Tagovailoa is good at, it's none other than one of my favorite film analysts, Alex Rollins, who provided this scouting report very recently, saying that Tua excels at playing within a structure, reading all 3 levels in play action concepts, and has surprising deep accuracy. His issues are he's very inconsistent in intermediate accuracy, he's below average on third down, and the Dolphins' heavy usage of RPOs, play action, and Wildcat showed that they don't trust him, which is kind of a theme in the NFL. If you see your head coach running a ton of RPO and play actions, which is what the Rams ran with Jared Goff heavily, then chances are your head coaching staff doesn't trust you. But fortunately for Tua, it seems like he's going to be in a very play action heavy offense with Mike McDaniel, because for the most part, that's the type of offense that Kyle Shanahan was running with Jimmy Garoppolo under center. In addition to this, I disagree with Alex in regards to NFL team third down conversion percentage, as the Miami Dolphins had a 40.77% third down conversion percentage in 2021, which ranks them in the top half of NFL teams, which at the very minimum, it's not the greatest, but it is above average for the most part. I'm not trying to say that Tua Tagovailoa is a guaranteed home run for the Miami Dolphins because, well, there's a lot of variables at play here. What I'm trying to say is that the tools are clearly there. There is an opportunity for Tua to take that next step and potentially be a quarterback of a Super Bowl winning team. Yes, I actually said that. But at the same time, this team could easily go 8-9 this season, and it all rests on Tua's shoulders. Either way, this team is easily the biggest boom or bust team in the entire NFL. I'm not going to say one thing is going to happen over the other because once again, we don't know what's going to happen. There's so many factors at play this season, but what I can say is the Miami Dolphins had a remarkable offseason where they did put Tua in a situation to potentially be a really good freaking quarterback if he wants to, and if he's able to put the pieces together. Jalen Waddle's there, Tyreek Hill's there, Mike Gesicki's there. They signed Cedric Wilson in the offseason as well. They signed the best left tackle in NFL free agency this past offseason. So for the most part, his offense should be set. And if he can't put it together, this could potentially be the final season that Tua is in the NFL. I don't think there's a single quarterback that's under more pressure this season than Tua Tagovailoa. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm being too harsh on Tua? Maybe there's something in this take that you agree with or disagree with. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, if you guys want to talk to me about more football stuff, follow me on twitch.tv/TF Microphone. That way you can tell me to my face that my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, stink. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.